Welcome back, Track Talk here on Sports Radio 810 WHB and RacinBoys Radio. Don't forget to check out any one of the 7 McCarthy Auto Group dealerships located between Olathe, Overland Park, Blue Springs, and now in Sedalia. I'm Scott. He's Kirk. We're the RacinBoys, and joining us now on the show is co-owner of Lakeside Speedway, Mike Johnson. Mike, how you doing?
Good. How you guys doing?
Well, we're doing pretty good. You big day. You get first day to actually talk to the teams that are going to compete at your racetrack. You and Don Mars have purchased today at 10 o'clock up at the Marriott at the airport. It's a pretty exciting day, I'm sure, for you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah, we're excited about it. Before we get going on this, I want to give a shout out to a good friend of mine that had surgery this week, Buzz Castor.
Yep.
He's out of the hospital and back home and doing good. And we want Buzz to mend quick. He's one of the premier drivers that the Kansas City area has ever had, and he'll be running his modified I-35 this year. And we just want to make sure he gets well quick.
He is a good man and comes from good stock. We love the Castors. Buzz, get well. We're thinking of you. And get healed up so we can get you back behind the wheel of a race car. And, great ambassador to motorsports, too. Not just a driver, but the things that Buzz and his family and his mom, Dixie, and Becky and everybody do behind the scenes. It's probably second to none when it comes to families in this area. And that was all taught to them by the great Larry Castor. So, Buzz, we're thinking about you. Hey, Mike, how many guys you expect to show up here today?
I imagine the place will be packed. And we're excited for that. We're excited to start moving forward with the project and look forward to a fantastic 2013.
Well, we're looking.
I will address something real quick that Kirk was talking about as far as
ticket price,
GA prices.
Yep.
That will not change. It'll still be $12. And what you guys got to understand, it's a business, and the pits. The money you bring in the pits never cover the purse.
Right.
So as a track promoter, you start out in the hole every night.
Right.
And what helps counterbalance that are your fans and your concessions. So there's a handful of people that own racetracks and actually know the inner workings of them, and it's got to be ran like a business. So.
Well, and I figured as much myself.
The only reason, Scott asked me a question, and I just answered. I was thinking.
See, it's all my fault again.
No, I was.
That's the history of this show. I'm just saying.
No, I was just my idea as a fan. Okay, what gets me to the racetrack?
He likes not
more
pulling out 3
times
bills. He likes pulling out one.
Well, I was just thinking a $20 bill for a couple, a $10 for. A single, but that I understand where you're coming from, Mike, as far as the business is concerned, and that's why I preface that by saying I don't know what all the expenses are and so forth, but just giving you my opinion.
Well, there's a huge amount of expense to any business,
right?
And owning a racetrack, and I've owned several businesses and still do. Owning a racetrack is by far one of the toughest things there is to do. You're constantly under the spotlight. In a private endeavor, you run your business and go on down the road. But when you own a racetrack, you're always under the spotlight of the fans, the drivers, media. So it's a tough business to be in.
No doubt. I wouldn't want to do it full time. Do it once or twice a year myself. No way could I do that every year. Let me ask you.
But having said that, it's one of the greatest businesses to be in because of the people you meet,
no doubt,
and the friends you make,
yeah.
And the sport. It's absolutely great. Just by us being involved in racing over all the years, the great friendships we have made, and that's what makes it special. It's a sport. When you come to those pits, you're supposed to be there to have fun, visit with your friends, and that's what it's all about. Racing should be about the family and promoting our sport in a positive way and having fun.
Mike, let me just ask you straight out, and I kind of told you I was going to ask you this question. So you tell me, last year we saw the attendance was down towards the end of the last year, and you could point your finger at whatever might have caused that, the hot weather, the live TV, who knows, the economy. There's a lot of things that could contribute to that. What are you going to do different than Mark Olson to get the fans back out to Lakeside and make that track what it was maybe a few years ago?
Well, I don't remember us talking about this question, but racetracks all across the area were affected by the heat.
Mm-hmm.
I-35 was, and I know every track around was affected by the heat. All the years I owned a racetrack, I thought, if we ever get a dry year and no rain, that's going to be great. Well, it didn't work out that way. Your fans don't come because of the heat, and the ones that do come, they're not eating or drinking. They're just sitting there watching races. So It affected every racetrack.
But let me ask you this, because I know your style just a little bit. The one thing that I think the number one complaint with Mark Olson is that people felt he was like the man behind the curtain. He didn't really come down and walk the pit, shake hands, thank everybody for being there each week. And I know that's a little more in your philosophy. Is that something that you're going to change? Are you going to be more visible for the fans and the racers, and so they can bend your ear and talk to you about what maybe concerns they have, or maybe some things they want to talk about, what's going on at the racetrack?
The racetrack will be run like I run I-35 Speedway.
Yeah.
I'll be out there with my drivers. I'll be meeting with the fans. My cell phone number is on the front of the I-35 website. The drivers can call me anytime they have a question. If I cannot answer that question, I'll get them pointed in the right direction so the question can be answered. And we respond quickly.
Yeah.
We don't want anything, boiling into something bigger.
Right. Do you feel it's important, Mike, to make sure that you have that personal relationship with the drivers, though? Is it important to you?
It is to me. That's just my style and my personality, because I've raced for years, and being out with the racers, that's just what I do. That's where I want to be, is visiting with the racers, because that's just what we are. We're all the same. You know what I mean? So that's where I want to be.
Yeah. Kirk and I started off segment number one when we were talking about Lakeside, and the number one thing I think that a lot of people want to see fixed is the wall in turn 3. I know you have plans to do something. Can you share those plans and kind of paint a picture on what you're going to do with that wall back there to make it a little more safer?
Well, I'll try to. Actually, earlier this week, and Mark has been great about letting us have access to the property. And, think about what we want to do. Earlier this week, Don dropped some of his equipment so we can start working on the parking lots, pits, things like that. We've actually set cones out of where we're going to place the new wall. We're actually going to move it in closer towards the infield. It'll start at turn 2. It'll be moved in. You'll still be able to exit off turn 3, but the way the wall will be positioned, it will force the racing more to the inside and away from that dangerous spot.
So in other words, and if I get this right, really not doing much in turn 3, you're adjusting the wall coming off of 2 so people can't get out on the old pit road and get wide and get stuck out there and hit that wall. You're going to force them to where they got to be down below that wall, and that will keep them below the entry of turn 3. Is that correct?
Exactly. The racing, the way that wall was, and I don't believe it was ever intended for the guys to race out there. I think that was supposed to be an exit lane. But, it just, the racing kept moving farther and farther out.
Right.
But you're exactly right. That's what we're going to do. It'll start off 2, and it'll force the racing in, which therefore you're not around that dangerous spot. And that's something that we're going to move on as soon as weather permits. We'll be out there. Like I say, the equipment is already setting out there.
All right. I had several people send me a question this week they wanted me to ask you, and I've got to ask you it, Mike. What is the situation with the purse? Some people are assuming that the purse is going to be cut. Can you tell the people that are listening and the drivers right now what you're going to be doing with the purse in 2013?
We've looked at the purse, to be honest with you. We've been so busy on everything else. We've looked at it one time. I'm sure there will be adjustments made. As to what they are, we do not know, other than to say it'll still be the highest purse in the area.
Yeah, because I was told that people assume that it's going to be $500 to win for the A mods out there, and there's some rumblings about that. Do you anticipate that?
We haven't even talked about the top end. If anything, we're probably going to adjust the stocks a little bit higher. It will be adjusted. Will it overall be cut? Yes, but it's going to be the highest purse out there.
Okay.
What about track officials? Will J.D. Green play a role at Lakeside Speedway?
Yes, he will. Everybody knows J.D. and I have bumped heads in the past. We've had long talks. We're past that. J.D. knows our goal and the direction we want to take the track, and we're all on board to move the track together in one direction. It's not one person running a racetrack.
Yeah.
It takes the ownership and the officials. It takes the racers, and it takes the fans.
Right.
It takes all that as a whole to move the track, any track, forward. If any part of that does not work, then none of it works. It takes everybody working together as one team to move things forward in a positive manner, and that's what we're going to do.
Will J.D. Green's role and duties be very similar to what he had in the past under Mark Olson as the competition director?
Yes, except I'll be more hands-on in that area. It's going to be just like I do I-35.
Right.
I'll be hands-on.
Yeah, well, that's good. That part I do like to hear, that your hands are going to be on it a little bit more than in past years, and that's great. I like the way you do that, and I think that's going to work out just fine for you. So
we're going to be driver friendly, fan friendly. That's what pays the bills, and that's what's going to move us forward. Like I said, Don's a racer. Mm-hmm. Don will be racing out there on Friday nights.
Is that a conflict? Is that a conflict in your eyes?
No, and I'll tell you several reasons why. Don will not partake in any running of the business on Fridays whatsoever. He is my partner, but when he's racing out there, he'll be treated just like a racer. Right. My son Austin runs I-35, and he was Rookie of the Year this year. He got treated just like everybody else. My other son will be racing Houston this year. He'll be treated just like everybody else. There will be absolutely no favorites at the track, just like at I-35. Right. It doesn't matter to me what your name is. Everybody will be treated the same, and it's going to be a level playing field. And if I find any of my officials that have favorites, they won't be there.
Right. I think you've proved that. Hey, Mark, let me step back one question. Is the point fund, is that going to be straight from USRA? Because, a lot of drivers were disappointed there wasn't a point fund this year. How do you address the point fund this year?
Well, I'm not sure that there won't be a point fund this year. That's not a question for me. The USRA, they handle the point fund. We will take care of the Grand Nationals and the stocks.
But they will have a point fund at the end of the year.
Yes.
Yeah.
And from what I've seen, USRA pays a very good points fund.
Okay, good.
One other question about Don Mars. He's racing out there every Friday night. Now, is he just more or less a silent partner? What kind of a role does he play as a co-owner of the racetrack?
No, Don is very hands-on. Don and I's personality is almost exactly alike. He's out running his crews with Mars Tree Service and Planet Mars every day. He's an outdoors, hands-on man, just like I am. So Don will be out there. Actually, Don's the one that laid out the back wall and already has that going, and it's his equipment that's been. So yeah. Don is very hands-on and has been involved in the whole process we're going through 100%. So I have a 50-50 partner there that is going to help me move the track forward.
Yeah, we're speaking with Mike Johnson, co-owner of Lakeside Speedway, their first year out there at Lakeside. Mike, what are you concerned about flooding? We had the flood, obviously, 2 years ago. We had the flood of '93 where it shut down the racetrack. Your concerns about the flooding, and have you talked to the Corps of Engineers? How's that all work with you and your decision in purchasing the racetrack and your concerns about flooding?
I have no concerns about flooding. It's like a rain out. It's out of your control, so there's nothing you can do about it, so there's no use worrying about it.
Do you talk to the Corps of Engineers and ask them, anything, or is there anything they've done to improve or to help this? They let all that water loose upstream, and it came down and flooded you guys. Have you got a reassurance that won't happen again?
I don't know that you can ever have 100% reassurance. Mm-hmm. I was told that the levees have been fixed. Have I visibly stood there and seen them? No. Yeah. But that wasn't a major issue in us purchasing a track at all.
Yeah. Can you get flood insurance for a place like that, or is that nobody will write it because of the history of the racetrack? Does the promoter just got to take it on the chin if that happens?
I think you just got to pretty much take it on the chin. I know there's policies out there that for rainouts, for example, but they're very expensive, and you've got to have so many rainouts before they even kick in. And I think policies like that are probably available, but they're expensive, and what do you do? But no, it was not a concern on the flood issue for us. We're buying. We look at we're very fortunate. We're buying a part of Kansas City history with this racetrack. Look how far it goes back, and we're just a link in the chain. There's been many people before us that have got Lakeside to where it is. You know what I mean? Without all the people that before us, we couldn't have done it. And that's the way it always is. Same way in Carb. There's, since the early 50s, Carb's been there, and Lakeside, and there's been many, many people that have got us to where we are today. We're just another link in the chain to move things forward. And one thing we are going to do out there, we're going to have ambassadors, which is the older people that have exactly what I'm saying, that have brought the track to where it is and have helped save the track over the years. The Ellises, the Reeds, Honeycutts, Casters, Christies, all those people that have put so much into this racetrack. We want them to be ambassadors to the track, greeting people when they come in, being available to visit with people, talk about the old times and things like that. So the past is very important for us with moving everything forward, because without any of the previous people before us, it wouldn't have happened. Yeah. And believe me, it's a very tough business to be in. And every one of the people that have gone before us need to be thanked for getting us to this point.
Very well said. Great idea. Mike Johnson is joining us, the new co-owner of Lakeside Speedway. Mike Knight has done such a great job of preparing Lakeside Speedway for many years. I know he's worked for you up at I-35 Speedway. Mike Knight, I assume he'll continue to play a big role in preparing that racetrack.
Yep, Mike will be back, and there's a few people who won't be back. We are bringing some new people in, but it'll be a good mix of things. Yeah. And we look forward to an exciting season out there. One thing we do up north that we're going to do, we're very involved in getting the kids involved in stuff. We have kids bike races up there. Mm-hmm. We have stinky kid foot races. Like last year before school, we went out to companies, and every kid that walked through the gate before school started got a backpack and all their school supplies. Every single kid that came through. Nice. So we're going to really focus, and we'll do the same thing out of Lakeside. We're going to really focus on the youth, because we've got to get the youth involved in racing to keep, pushing our sport forward. And that's one of the ways we do it. And believe me, the kids' night up there before school opened was one of our biggest nights. Right. The place was just packed. So there's things like that we're going to do. We also, last year up at I-35, did some concerts, Outlaw Jim and the Whiskey Benders, and some other groups. And we're going to do that again up north, and we're planning on bringing them out south also. That's another big hit. Yeah. We believe nowadays you just can't open the doors and have race cars going. You've got to be an entertainer and keep the fans entertained at all times.
Yeah. Well, I think you'll do a great job at that. Hey, speaking of last year, Metro Sports did a great job doing the races out there live. We're obviously do a show over at Metro Sports. We love the product and love what they do for the local sports scene. Is that in the future? Have you made a decision on that? Do you think because honestly, some people will say that live television combined with the hot weather is what hurt the attendance last year. Your thoughts on live television, is that something in the future?
We know they're wanting to talk to us, but we have not talked to them at this point.
I see.
So, like I say, my phone has rang constantly. So we've been very busy going through this process, and there's some things we just simply have not had time to get to.
Yeah, we're getting up towards the end of the break. I want to ask you, why USRA? A lot of people were worried you were going to go IMCA. Why the choice of running USRA over non-sanctioned NASCAR or IMCA? Why did you go in that direction?
NASCAR is very expensive. So that was a decision with NASCAR. And, I was just on the phone with NASCAR just a couple days ago. USRA has a fantastic points fund. and our drivers didn't have to change hardly anything. So we didn't want to get in the position where we were causing a lot of changes to our drivers and more expense. That's not what we're about. I own 4 race cars. Don has 3. We feel the pain and spend the money just like everybody else.
Right.
So we're trying to keep costs down, and that's what we're going with.
All right. Finally, before we let you go, what your schedule's already getting some neat dates on it. We know the Lucas Oil Late Model Series is going to be there for the first time. That's huge. The World of Outlaw Sprint Cars are going to be there. USMTS is going to be there. We're hopeful to see an ASCS race there. What's your philosophy on having specials and having the fine balance of not having too many of them?
Well, it goes back to what I said earlier. We're entertainers, so you've got to throw a mix of stuff out there to keep people's interest up and keep them excited. And that's what we're going to do. The year-end show is going to be huge. That'll be October 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th. And we've hooked up with USMTS on that show and also the late models, and they're talking the purse is going to be over $140,000 for that. So there's a lot of exciting things that are coming, and we look forward to the season.
All right, we're going to let you have the final word. Anything that you want to tell the listeners and the people out there and encourage them to get out to your racetrack? You have an open mic. What would you like to say to them?
The fans and the drivers are very, very important to us, and we just want everybody to come out and support our local racetrack, and most importantly, have fun. This is a sport we all love, and we're going to preach and push, have fun.
All right, Mike. Well, we're real excited about now. Do you have that address up there at the Marriott? That's up there off of Burn Street, right? Just as you're heading in towards the airport. What is that address up there?
775
Brasilia Avenue, and that's, you just take the airport, you go up and turn right on Burn Street, I believe, and then left on what was the name of that street again? Brasilia, right? Turn left on Brasilia.
And something else, we want to thank Christina Smith. She got that lined up for us, and we appreciate her doing that.
Nothing better in this world than Christina Smith in the great rooms at Marriott. That is our choice of properties. When we travel up and down the road, we wouldn't want to stay anywhere else but Marriott.
We join you in that.
We join you in that. All right, Mike, congratulations. Tell Don congratulations. We hope you have a great turnout up there today. We're excited about the future Lakeside Speedway. I think most people are. And good luck with that, bud. And whatever we can do to help you, we're going to try to on our end, okay?
Thanks a lot. We look forward to it.
All right. There's Mike Johnson, co-owner, along with Don Mars of Lakeside Speedway, a new era of Lakeside Speedway. Remember when it all started? They had an ownership group that started out there, and it was about 7 different people and a bunch of $10,000 investors. Ed Southall was the leader at that time. Guy by the name of Clyde Ellis was probably more responsible than anybody for keeping that racetrack alive, spending hundreds and hundreds of $1,000s of his own money when the track wasn't making money to keep it alive. Then we had Ted Carlson come in, purchase the racetrack. He ran it until Mark Olson took it over in 2000, and the rest is history. It's been a great dirt track, a legendary track. A lot of people love racing there. It's the track that when you say, where do you race? If you don't say Lakeside, they ask you why. And it is one of those kind of tracks. If you don't win at Lakeside, a lot of people think you can't win anywhere else. I don't believe that, but that's the kind of the history of that. Kind of like I-70 in Lakeside when they were pavement. You'd tell everybody you raced pavement at Lakeside. Well, they wanted to know how many you wanted I-70 to get credibility.
I can't think of a more qualified owner to take over Lakeside Speedway that understands the culture of Lakeside Speedway, Friday night racing, the experience at I-35 Speedway. He said all the right things, and wish he and his wife Kyle the best of luck, and Don Mars as Lakeside Speedway moves into the future. I feel very good after listening to him talk about all the ideas that he's got in store for Lakeside.
All right, we're going to open up the phone lines. You have an opinion or a thought about what you heard from Mike Johnson? The next segment is your time to call in and tell us. 913-381-810, 913-381-810. More of Track Talk, brought to you by McCarthy Auto Group here on Sports Radio 810 WHB.
Track Talk.